we had a special guest. I'm sure she'll be back. But we're getting into Oscar Pettiford's solo on Tricotism from the Lucky Thompson album, where they're playing trio again, this album. And so last week we dug into the melody of Tricotism and some of the different versions, from the great, of course, Oscar Pettiford original version, 1954, then the version from this Lucky Thompson album. And then we dipped into a little bit of Ray Brown, Oscar Peterson version, live in Chicago. And I don't know if we checked out any of the Niels Henning Orsted Pedersen, but we referenced it, the duo album with Joe Pass. And those are all just inspirational recordings to check out. But today we're going to be dipping specifically from that Lucky Thompson album and checking out the solo. So without further ado, let's pull up the first little bit. Oh, now if you want the entire solo, there should be a link down below. Click on that link and you'll be able to receive a PDF, I believe, of the whole transcription that I've written out and provided here. But I also have some small musical snippets that we'll put at the bottom of the screen. But if you want it for your own resources or to look at while we're doing this today, that's available down below. I also need to say too, down below you can find a link to Open Studio's newest course by Christian McBride entitled Your Sound is Your Signature, an amazing resource for any musician, especially for bass players, by one of the living legends of the bass. So check out Christian McBride's Your Sound is Your Signature course. There might also be a link down below to a course that I have coming out very soon. It should be coming out on Friday, entitled The Building Blocks of Bass. And I'm very excited about that to come out. So keep an eye out for that as well. Okay, so without further ado, let's dig into the solo a little bit. Now the idea here today is just to play through about 4 bars at a time, because I don't want to take up the whole screen with the solo and I don't want to overload anything. So if you've been to our sessions before, you know that I'm a fan of taking snippets or like smaller bites of things and really trying to digest them a little bit. So let's look at this first 4 bars here. So we're in the key of D flat, as we know from checking out Tricotism last week. Now we're in the key of D flat, and that's kind of a tricky key for bass players, right? Kind of like it's not in the easiest of keys for bass players, we'll say it that way, but it is a really common key, especially a bassy key, and a lot of tunes come up in this key. Oscar Pettiford wrote some other really famous the name's escaping me right now, but that's in D flat as well. If you're in the comments, help me out, what's the name of that? And also, I will be checking out the comments too when we get a little further down into the lesson or into the guided practice session today. But let's check out what we have here. We'll do it without a metronome first and just talk about the rhythmic and the harmonic choices that Oscar is playing here. So now there is a little grace note, or like not a grace note, but a pickup, a C natural leading into this D flat. So very clear opening, here's the beginning of my solo. He doesn't come out, playing a bunch of notes or really fast, even though he obviously can. And one thing that I'm noticing immediately, he's starting on the root, which is cool. Like a lot of times people say, okay, you got to get away from the root when you're soloing, but here he's clearly not. He's saying this is in D flat. Here it is. And he's landing on the 3rd of the chord, right? So let's look at the next phrase. There's a little pickup right here leading into the 3rd. So this 2 chord is a dominant chord. A lot of times you'll have a 2 chord that's minor, like a 2-5-1. A lot of times people want to play those 2s just minor, but this is the case where the 2 is a dominant chord. And so we've got a little pickup into this. Now immediately, if you're newer to improvising, you might look here. This is a G, F, E natural, and a D natural. Okay, so now why? The chord is E flat 7, right? Never, your teachers are telling you play a E flat dominant scale, right? Or an E flat Mixolydian scale. So why is there an E? Why is there a D? You can check back to the chromatic guided practice session that we did, and check out the bebop guided practice session we did as well to talk about why those notes are in there. They're basically approach notes, trying to get. They're enclosing, they're like making your ear chromatically hear towards this E flat right here. E natural, D, E flat, right? That's where it's leading. And it's specifically landing on beat 3, a really strong beat, right? Then he displaces the phrase by playing an E natural here, a D, and then he resolves back into the key of E flat. So let's try playing this together, okay? I'm going to put on my metronome. The tempo of the Lucky Thompson recording is pushing, it's around 180. I'm sorry, around 160 beats per minute. So I would put this on like 80-ish for my metronome. But for today's guided practice session, I'm just going to stick it at 60 for right now, so we can really dig into this, okay? So hopefully you can hear that metronome all right. Let's play this line along. Let's just do the first phrase a few times and really get it in our ears, get it under our fingers. Definitely check out the recording when you're learning this solo too. We can learn all the information here, but playing it along with the recording and really listening a bunch to get it in your ears and then under your fingers will help you to get closer to that real feel, like, you know, like that's the truth. It's in the recording. This is just kind of a sketch, like a little diagram of what the actual product is, right? So go and check the recording, play this along, okay? So let's try it. Just the first phrase. We'll do the first bar and a half. So 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so clear enough, right? So 1, 2, 3, 4. Very clear, right? It couldn't be more clear, like he's playing a real D flat major sound. Let's look at this next phrase, okay? So we're gonna start on an and of 3. And so it's got that syncopation. We checked out the melody last week, and everything, all the phrases start on the ands, right? Help move the rhythm forward. If we were all starting on the downbeats of, like, say 1, and even this doesn't actually start on the downbeat of 1. There's a C, 8th note right in front of it that pushes forward, pushes forward, pushes forward, right? I say that, but the next phrase does start on B1. So anyways, let's look here. Let's look at the and of 3 leading into the E flat chord. Okay? So 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. Let's take this as quarter notes just for a minute, okay? So we're going to say, just to slow it down. To get the notes under our fingers. Cool. Okay, now back to 8th notes. So 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. Good. Now, as soon as you can get away from looking, you probably noticed I'm looking away. I like to memorize these solos and then write them out from memory and then try to check them, like with the recording, go back and make sure it's actually what I'm hearing to make sure I've got it like kind of internalized. So as soon as you can get, you know, to where you're not looking at the page and you get this internalized, it's really going to help you. It's going to be more beneficial. It's going to be more internalized and you'll understand it in a different way, okay? So let's play this whole 4-bar phrase now. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. How about again? So 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. Yeah. So hopefully that's feeling good. Yeah. So any questions about fingerings or phrasing wise, please leave it in the comments down below. And if you're just joining us, we're checking out Lucky Thompson's recording with Oscar Pettiford of Tricotism. All right, we're checking out Oscar Pettiford's solo from that specific album. You can find it online very easily. We can maybe have a link for it later too. So let's check out the second phrase, or the second 4 bars. It's a little bit more intense here. Now, so the chord changes. Basically, we're starting off the tune in D flat. Then it goes to the dominant 2, E flat 7. Then it goes to the 4 chord, a major 4 chord, a diminished chord, a G diminished. You see right here. And then basically a 1 chord, but with the 5th in the root. Okay, which is really common kind of if you're playing a D flat blues as well. You would do a similar type of thing coming from the 4 chord. a sense, it's got a little bit of like that blues kind of flavor in it right there. The difference is it goes to an A7, like a tritone substitution. Instead of going to E flat, like dominant, and that's the kind of the sound of this key too. Well, it's in the tune. It's got an E flat 7. So the tritone substitution, a tritone is a minor fifth. They share thirds and sevenths, right? Anyways, if you want to know more about tritone substitution, you can find out a lot. So, but let's just look at what we have here. The first phrase, he's playing over G flat. That's 7, 1, 3, 5. And then he does. So in these really flat keys, Oscar's very good about utilizing his open strings to bridge the gap and do some different shifts and just use the open strings to get around a little bit more instead of playing every note like fretted. So 7, 1, 5, and being very pointed and getting to this A flat. So now what's he doing here? So this is G flat, like G flat major. The G diminished, that would be like the whole scale. So it's like G, A natural, B flat, C, D flat, E flat, D sharp, whatever you like, E natural, F sharp, G. Now my thing is this G diminished is also a D flat diminished. It's another way to think about it, but that's maybe a whole different lesson. But so getting here, he's really making a big point to say now we're at this A7 chord, right? So from the G flat again, and play this along with me. Let's just try that much. Let's do it with the click, okay? And if you're watching this later, of course, pause, go back, like revisit anything that we're talking about. And join the Building Blocks of Bass Facebook group. We can always have a communication there too if you have any questions or anything else you wanted to ask about. I see that we've got a lot of comments, so keep commenting. I'm going to get through more of this solo and check out some comments, and we'll keep going, okay? But here is this is the second 4 bars of Oscar Pettiford's Tricotism solo. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, go. Let's try that much again. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, go. Cool? Very clear, right? Very, very clear. 4 chord, sharp 4 chord diminished to the 1 chord, but with a 5th in the bass. Super common, so get used to that chord progression. Now we're going to the flat 6 dominant chord, but it's a tritone substitution. However you want to think of that. It's really just getting us from A7 to A flat 7, which is the 5 chord leading back to D flat, right? The key that we're in. So let's check out this phrase. We've landed on A. So he's leading towards the 5th, or maybe thinking about an E flat to an A flat chord here. You know what I mean? So, but he's playing on the A7, root 9, 13, 5, 4, da. But that's also just an enclosure again, that same type of enclosure to get to E flat. So the last bar, let's look at that. He's using that same enclosure idea, especially with the open string that he did to get to E flat. E natural, D, E flat. He's doing the same thing to get to A flat down here, which is an example of how to use those open strings in this like tricky D flat key, right? Just like in the melody, right? But so let's try these last 2 bars of this phrase, or this 4 bars. Let's try these, just looping them. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. Again. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now you notice how I'm putting some certain inflections in there. I'm putting certain accents. Let me listen and really try to say where I'm putting them. It's a really syncopated type of feel. Now, listening to the solo itself is really going to help you to internalize and get like a vibe for that. That's not really something, I could put accents on here, but that's not really something that transfers well from the page. You know what I mean? So really, again, going to the recording, listening to the recording, playing along with it. That's what's up. For the sake of time, let's do these 4 bars now, and we'll do it maybe 3 times through, and then let's try the first 4 and the second 4. So 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. All right, let's try it again. So 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, now you remember the first 4? Let's see, can we put all that together? So 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. No, I just straight up forgot it too. Oh man, I'm blanking. Hold on, it's been a long day. All right. 2, 3. There we go. A7. One more time. 2, 1, 2, 3. A little bit of flub in there, but that's the goal at least. When I'm practicing this stuff, I want to get away from, you know, in the first place, I didn't learn it from reading, and I'm used to hearing it along with the recording a bunch. So, but case in point, it's a good idea to practice it without the recording too, right? So here is the second A section. So let's look at what he's doing. He's coming from, this is Oscar Pettiford we're talking about now. Don't get it twisted. We're talking about Oscar Pettiford. The phrase is leading down. He lands on a D flat right before, on the and of 4, before he gets to that D flat chord. So it's almost like he's playing ahead of the chord happening, which I think is really hip. And that speaks a lot too to, you know, his bebop. Like, he's the essence of bebop. He was there at the beginning, you know, playing with Monk, playing with Dizzy, you know, Kenny Clark, like all the cats, Bud Powell. So anyways, straight bebop. So what's he doing here? He's starting on the 3rd, hitting the 6. And this might be a clue too as far as like what the next chord is coming up. This is a B flat, right? So what's the next chord that we have though? It's an E flat, right? So what would be the 5th? If we were in the key of E flat, what would be the 5th of E flat? B flat, right? B flat, 7. So it's almost like a secondary dominant, maybe, implying that there. So now he's trying to use this, he's using chromaticism to get to E flat on beat 1, right? Right? So all together, from the D flat chord and this dominant 2 chord again. Let's try it with the metronome going. And you can listen to my metronome, you can pause, do it, whatever. I've got it set at 60, so at about 120. The actual recording itself is around 160 though. And again, listen to it. It's from Lucky Thompson with Skeeter Best on guitar, Oscar Pettiford on bass. So let's try this. So 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, go. Let's try it again. 1, 2, 3, go. go. Just a beautifully phrased like line right there, you know what I mean? Just really fits all together with everything he's doing. It's like perfect, you know what I mean? So things to take away here too is that he's really trying to hit chord tones. He's outlining the harmony very well using chromaticism to get where he's going. And a little bit of deception right there, turning around the fifth. Turn back, I think is that kind of an idea right there. So using bebop for sure. Let's look at the next 8 bars. So we're back to this kind of crazy 4 chord. Not crazy, it's not crazy at all. 4 chord, diminished, the sharp 4 diminished, which is leading to A flat with a D flat over an A flat kind of sound. And then here, the harmony is moving to a B flat 7. And the reason is very clear. I mean, it's because it's heading to that E flat chord that we were just talking about in the previous 4 bars. But this is specifically kind of a flat 9 type of sound, and we'll get into like what he's playing right here. Let's just take this note by note, okay? So from the G flat chord, he's playing F, 7, or you could think, you don't even need to think that much about it. It's a chromatic half step leading into G flat, right? One. So he's playing, again, that G diminished sound using the open G string. It's brilliant, but I think he's in this area. So there he's outlining the D flat chord from the 5th. 5, 4, 3, 2, and not really the 1 here. This is a really common bebop phrase to get to the 3rd of the 6th chord, the dominant 6th chord. And then a flat 9. The 3rd of the E flat minor chord. So let's take all that back from the G flat chord. So it's like perfect. He's outlining the changes just beautifully right there. So from this E flat, G flat, down to the 5th, and doing an enclosure down there. So this is the 3rd of E flat minor, G flat, and he's going down to the B flat, playing a half step below it, and then back to it. And then straight chromatic. This whole 3rd and 4th beat, getting to D flat. So if you go back, check out the guided practice session we did on chromaticism for some good fingering ideas, like different ways that's really, or ways to utilize that, and it's directly into bebop. Go back, check out, you know, any of the other courses too, Open Studio, where they're talking about chromaticism, bebop, and our triads and scales are all present right here too. So we have to know all of those really well, especially in these like lesser played keys that are really, they just sound good though. I mean, they're funky, but all right. So this whole line, let's try it with the click going, okay? So again, we're at 60. Let's try it. So 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. Oh, I didn't even address the last three. I talked about beat 1 on this D flat, but he puts a little extra on it towards the end, getting down to the 5th down there, the D flat. But we've landed on the D flat here for a very specific reason too. This is the 2nd A, right? So the first A, it did that A natural 7 to A flat 7, right? To get us back to the 2nd A, to get us to the 2nd A. The end of the 2nd A now, we're heading to the bridge, so we need to land on D flat to make it sound like it's at home, right? That's why that chord change is there. So that's really specific, right? Anyways, so let's play this whole line together. How about 3 times, and then we'll do the first 2 A's. So 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, done. Again, 1. One more time. 1. Cool. It's brilliant, right? It really makes sense. Again, listen to the recording of this. If you want a download of this music, you can click the link below and check that out too. Also, keep an eye out for my Building Blocks of Bass course coming out very soon, hopefully the end of the week. And of course, we're always trying to promote Christian McBride's great, amazing new course, Your Sound is Your Signature. You can find the link down below. It's incredible. Him and Carl Allen get into some really, really cool stuff. And he talks about playing electric bass, playing with the bow, playing bebop, playing fast, playing with sting. I mean, it's super cool. Can we do the whole first 2A section by memory? Can we? I think we should try it. Okay, so 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. Okay, cool. So, and this is under tempo again. This should be about 20, well, I'm sorry, more than that, like 40 clicks faster. But that's all right. We're just checking out the solo. We're learning it, right? Let's get into the bridge for a second. The bridge starts on this flat 6 dominant type of thing, whatever you want to call that. It's a tritone of the 2 chord, another way, you know. So let's look at what Oscar's doing here on this part of the solo. So he's outlining the A 7th chord pretty explicitly, and then later on, using a little chromaticism to get from the 9 back down to the root. So that's pretty much, he's straight up outlining and using this open G string and the open D to get to the third of A7. Right? Cool. Let's look at the D flat. So now he's trying to get to the 5th. He's using this open G to get to the 5th of D flat major, going up D flat major, and coming down. And the shape of these lines too really makes a lot of sense. He's like starting up, going down, down over here. He's starting up, dipping down, going back up. He's going up and he's dipping down, going back up. So if you look out throughout the solo, you'll see these arcs. He's not staying in one like register the whole time. He's not going to extremes either. He's not only staying in thumb position. I think that's important to notice. He's not always just staying in the like way end of the bass. He's in the solo section, but he's moving around. There are shapes to his lines. Anyways, I think that's important. So here, let's check out the D flat chord. And it kind of has a reference to the melody too, if you go back and listen to the melody. That's the melody right there. Here's his solo line. Sounds similar? So there is, like, you can hear kind of the shape of the melody in this line, right? Let's try this with the metronome going, okay? And please, if you're just joining us, or if you've left a comment and you've not had it addressed yet, it's just because I haven't gotten to them yet. I'm gonna keep going. I'm gonna check out the comments. I promise, though. Okay? So leave some good ones. So 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, go. Had a little brain freeze there at the end. 1, 2, 3, go. One more time. 2, 3, go. Brilliant, right? Yeah, these lines are so good. Okay, let's look at the next 4 measures, okay? So this is the last 4 measures of the bridge. The tune is A, B, A, 8, 8, 8, 8, right? So this is the second 4 of that third 8. Anyways. Now this is brilliant. I mean, it's the B flat minor. You know, I didn't put a seventh on this, right? Kind of the melody is doing is outlining this the minorness, and then but also having this A natural in the melody. And so that's addressed here too. Right? One. He's trying to get to the fifth of this 2 chord, and this time it is a 2 chord. So kind of going up from the root. The idea is the root to the 5th, back down. He's hitting 5th and a 5th of A flat too. But where it's all leading to is really important. So he's using that little bit of chromaticism right there. Just kind of like it would be like a more of a blues inflection there. Again, this open, you know, I'm talking about these open strings really bridging the gap. If he was to try to go or play down there, it would stand to run into some intonation issues or whatnot. So using these open strings is crucial. So let's try this phrase now. And again, if you want this whole PDF or whole transcription, just click down below. It'll take you to the whole thing. These are just little snippets, okay? So let's try this. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. One more time. 1. All right, cool. You remember the first part of the bridge solo? I mean, if you've never learned this before, I'd be surprised. But I'm sure there's people out there that can retain this stuff too. Let's try the whole bridge. Now, if you have the sheet, you can just read it. But I'm not going to put it on the screen, okay? All right, let's try it. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. Time. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Ah. I'm blanking now. Of course it's going to happen when I'm live. Right. Okay. From the top, from the bridge. Just cut that part out, Andrew, okay? So 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, go. Okay. All right, so that's the solo with the bridge. Almost done. He only takes one beautiful chorus on this song, this particular track. And all of his solos are just, I mean, they're so, I keep saying they're good. They're great. They're incredible. Learn a bunch of Oscar Pettiford. I was really torn too between like learning his bass, like his walking line on this, because we learn the melody, of course, and it's crucial as a bass player, any instrumentalist, to learn the melody of whatever tune you're playing, because it really comes into play like when you're being an accompanist, if you're playing a bass line or if you're soloing. Oh, it's super important. Anyways, I'm going to talk less, play more. So this phrase is just beautiful. I mean, he started off like the beginning of the solo, remember? Just very clear, as if it was a melody he wrote out. This, to me, too, is like a melody in itself. And in this phrase right here, listen to the recording of that, because this is not really written the way that it is. I couldn't put into notation the way that he plays this. It just has a different vibe to it. He kind of like drags behind it just a hair, but it's super hip, and it's super hard to play along with to get right with him. But this is outlining, this is really just clearly outlining D flat major. It's like a pentatonic type of shape. And you could play it a couple different ways, of course. Going down the D string or going across to the A string. Now this next phrase is super hip. Let's check this out. So he's doing 5, 13 to the 7th of E flat 7, right? 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, in this little enclosure type of thing. 6, half step, open G again. Now he could be playing an A there instead of this G natural, but I'm pretty sure he's playing a G natural there. So listen to the recording, let me know what you think, okay? Because I make mistakes daily. Don't believe what you read. See, there's a mistake right there. That's just so hip. Right? So let's try the whole phrase together with the metronome. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. One more time. 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. My brain. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. One more time. 1, 2, 3, go. Right, just clear, just like perfect. You know what I mean? There's no extra. You could sing back all of this solo. You know what I mean? That's kind of the thing that I'm always trying to strive for in my own playing, is to be very, very clear. And Oscar is just like, he totally embodies that with the intentionality of his rhythm, with his note choices, with his melodies, just beautiful. All right, so let's check out these hairy changes here again. Here's this 4 chord again. 4 chord to half step up diminished, which again, you could think of this a couple different ways, and I don't want to get too far into it. I talked about how this could actually be like a D flat diminished. They have the same notes. But this could also be G flat 7, flat 9, with a G in the bass. It's another thing to think about. But that's, again, we're not going to talk about that today. So he's going up to G flat, and he likes to hit this G flat or get to it by a half step. He likes to hit this G flat particular like every time in this solo. And open G every time this chord changes right here. So he's hitting that every time and getting to this A flat. So that's something to notice. He's hitting, and he likes to hit this D natural as his goal note. You know, like all of this is leading forward. He's hitting this D natural on purpose right here. He's trying to get to E flat here, but he's taking a minute to do it. He's hitting an E natural to the E flat. He's hitting an A flat, and he's hitting a root down here, right? So all of this is very intentional, like where he's heading. Straight eighth notes the whole time. Oscar Pettiford. And again, this chromaticism, whether it's enclosing from like a half step above, half step below, or straight, chromatic notes, like sometimes 3 in a row, like here at the end, especially using these open strings, he just kills that. I mean, it's incredible. You hear Ray Brown doing that a bunch, of course. Everybody does that, but Oscar is like killing at this. All right, let's try that with the metronome, okay? 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, go. Let's try one more time. So 1, 2, 3, go. And then it's onto a Lucky Thompson solo again right there. So check out this recording. Play along with this recording, okay? And now, for the kids in the front of the class, let's put it closer to the tempo from the recording and try to play the whole thing. All right, so especially if you've got the sheet, click the link below if you want to get that. If you're watching this later, you can get it whenever, I think, you know. Join the Facebook group, but and you can get more information there about all of this and keep the conversation going. I'm gonna play the whole solo down now, closer to the speed that he's doing it at, and then I'm gonna jump into the comments, okay? 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. And then Lucky takes over. Classic, just beautiful solo, right? And that's more of the tempo that we were trying to get to. But when you get these little phrases down, put them with the recording, play along, okay? All right, so I'm gonna stop talking. Check out these comments. Sorry, there's a bunch of comments right now, and I'm just getting to it. I'm gonna really quick. What's up, Kurt? Morro Bay, California. I wish I was there. Hi, Bob and Stella. Oh yeah, Stella got hurt and then she bounced. I hope she's okay. She's fine. She's fine. She just bumped her elbow on a stand over here. Oh, Edison, what's up? Hi, nice kid. Oh wow, okay. Kind of late over there. You have your 10-month. Oh, we have a little 4-month-old too. That's really cool, Edison. I sometimes have her strapped on when I'm practicing, so it's not about doing that. Okay. Oh yeah. Okay, Kurt, great tune, great solo. I agree. I learned it from Vocal Nerriman's book. I have that. I haven't seen that in a long time. But yeah, that was like one of my essential purchases back when I was first getting into the bass. My teacher, great bass player, Mike Blanco, I think he told me about this book. And I was in Denton at Pender's Music, right? Is that what I'm trying to think of? Anyways, great music store in Denton, Texas, at University of North Texas. So. But thanks, Kurt. Yeah, totally. I would need to check to see if my solo lines up with what Vocal got. I hope it's close. I hope it is. And Kurt, you got me. Blues in the Closet. Thanks, Kurt. Appreciate it. Oh, Dave got me too. Blues in the Closet. It's my brain. It's like a Monday. It's raining out here. Wet brain, I guess. No, it's not a good reference. Not a wet brain. Just can't think straight. Okay, there's supposed to be a flat at the second E of the third bar. Let me look. The second E. Yes. Oh yeah, thank you. Okay, Lucas, you're right, absolutely. And I'm pretty sure I played it. The transcription has an error in it, and Lucas caught this. Thank you. In the third measure, on beat 3, that should be an E flat. Earlier in the bar, there's an E natural, but thank you so much, Lucas. I will fix that and put that back up. Okay, also a D flat in that same measure. Busted. Yeah, man, his chromaticism got me. Yes, thank you. There should also be a D flat right after that E flat. And if you're listening, that's how we've been playing it, but I didn't write it right. So totally, thank you guys for catching that. I really appreciate that. Okay, let's see what's up. Nick, hey, you're back. What's up? Glad I finally made it to another one of your lessons in real time. Great. I always struggle a little when reading in a key like D flat. Any tips on reading in keys with many flats or sharps? So if you're, that's a great question, Nick, and we don't talk a lot about sight reading on these sessions, but it's important, of course. I mean, I'm using, like notation here, so we need to be able to read it and talk in those terms, right? For the most part. Tips for playing in sharp and flat keys that are especially have a lot of populated flats or sharps maybe is to realize what key you're playing in and understand uh, what notes are going to be flatted or sharped the whole time. Do you know what I mean? And how you think about that too. It's hard for me too. I won't lie. Like if I had to read this like in real time in the key of D flat, I would, and especially with those notation errors, I would for sure stumble. You know what I mean? And luckily, a lot of what we do, at least in jazz music or you know, kind of the world that we're talking about for these guided practice sessions, a lot of it is by ear, and thankfully, not by reading a ton. But I would say for sure a good solid piece of advice would be to practice it a bunch. Read a bunch of material that's in those keys that are really, you know, tricky. I mean, D flat is just a half step away from C, right? So anything you can play in C, you should be able to do in D flat, in theory, right? Same with reading, you know, it's really not that far removed, but, you know, so I would say learn, of course, learn all your scales, learn the keys that you're in, think about like the majors, the minors, what all the notes are going to be in those keys, and then kind of understand, you know, like how it's gonna function. I don't know if that was great advice, but hopefully some of that helped. Thanks, Nick. And Lucas, yes, thank you so much. Y'all are on it. Thanks for paying attention. And I'll fix that in the transcription too, promise. Lucas and Dave, that's the chromatic approaches in bebop. Yeah, Marco's got my back. But no, I totally made a mistake. Those should be flatted again in the transcription, in the notation, but the way we played it was possible. Let's see, Kurt Morrow. It's possible the and of 3 in bar 2 is an A natural. The and of... I think so too. Yeah, totally. It could be instead of... And I do remember thinking that too when I was listening to this, and I slowed that part down actually. I think that he's playing an A flat, but an A natural would work just as well because it's... Actually, when I was first starting to play it, I was playing it that way. And then I think I went back and I took a minute and I was like, actually, I think that's an A flat. But good ear. I mean, either way, it would work for our own purposes, right? For our educational purposes to like know that you can do either one of those. But yeah, good call. Man, I like you, Kurt. You're on it. Love it. I think we were just reflecting what Bob played. Oh, okay. I don't, yeah. Okay. Oh, there was a whole back and forth on this. Nice. Marco, the first two are approaches, but the last two are chord tones. Yes, I think we're all saying the same thing here. So the enclosure must resolve, right? Well, what do you mean with that, Lucas? Anyways, if I'm missing something in there, I think. Okay. Bob, thanks for your instruction. It's made a world of a difference in my playing. Oh, thanks, Don. Before I forget, can you spend a session on Paul Chambers? Absolutely. Sorry, back to Oscar Pettiford. Yeah, absolutely. Don, if you have any specific requests on what Paul Chambers you want to check out, I'm most definitely going to do that. I really enjoy doing these sessions where we're talking about specific players too, by the way, whether it's learning melodies, you know, doing transcriptions, learning like Israel Crosby's bass line from a few weeks back. Way into that. So yeah, absolutely. Noted, Don. Appreciate that. Okay. Lucas, hell of a phrase that. Totally, man. Yeah. Incredible. I've heard Christian McBride say he doesn't transcribe bass solos because of how muddy they sound. Sure. Especially the older recordings. Do you transcribe more horn lines than bass solos as well? Huh. Again, from Nick. I've not heard Christian say that, but I believe it because, you know, for me, I do transcribe a bunch of horn players, piano players, guitar players, and obviously bass players. The instrument to me doesn't matter too much, except if it's if it's really super technical. Of course, we have some limitations, minor limitations on the upright bass, right? As far as like playing fast and be able to we can only play melodic lines except for a couple double stops, things like that. So I really enjoy learning horn solos as well. Piano solos, like I did a video on playing Lee Konitz, playing All the Things You Are, his whole solo. Benny Green's solo, I did one of those recently. But learning bass solos, I'll say that it was not something that I learned. I transcribed a lot at the beginning. I transcribed more like trumpet players and then sax players before I really, oddly enough, got started in playing or transcribing bass solos. Now I transcribed a bunch of bass lines, But yeah, I think good information, it doesn't matter where it's coming from, you know? Like if it's something that you love, of course, and you don't need, I'm sure you already say this, but, or you already agree, I'm sure, but wherever a good solo lies, learn it. You know, it doesn't have to be a bass solo. Sometimes these older recordings can be hard, tricky to hear, especially in the lower registers. But again, I still think you can get stuff out of it, especially with repeated listens. And this recording in particular is really good because it's a trio. You know, there's not drums or even, no offense to my pianists, but there's no piano player playing in the low end in his left hand or her left hand. It's guitar, and he's just kind of comping and making everything super clear, right? Okay, yeah. So, Dave Shepard, could you talk about using pull-offs to accent certain beats, i.e. when to use pull-offs? Good one, Dave. Yeah, absolutely. We also did, if you go back and check out Open Studio's YouTube page, we did a whole session on pull-offs and some practice materials to use on pull-offs. And in Christian's course down below too, there's great references to that. And I have some guided practice sessions as part of that course where we specifically talk about pull-offs. But let me think about where I'm using any pull-offs here. So right there, I could use an A flat. Anytime we're going to these G's or open strings, that's a big time, like kind of pull-off area, I think. That's another one, F to E natural. But you could also articulate all those. Same with hammer-ons too. You could use the open D into the E flat to get up to this B flat. But I think in general, and then pull-offs too, if somebody is not hip to what we're talking about playing a note and just using your left hand or right hand if you're a left-handed player, just to pull off the string. So that's particularly, you don't have to do that to the open string, you can do that to any note that's below. The opposite is a hammer-on. G, A, flat, A. So where that lies in the melody, you know, it kind of just depends on the phrase and then where it's laying on the bass. So I think that's, hopefully that's what you're getting at, Dave. If you have further questions about that, check out the Facebook group or right down below, because I'm still here and we're still live. So, all right, Marco, you're right. Yep, right on. Bass love. Y'all are getting along. I love this. No, just kidding. Absolute gem. Thanks, Dom. This is such a great resource. Oscar Pettiford is the man. Yes, indeed. Man, this is the best channel. Thanks, Francisco. Open Studio. Totally agree. Bob's lessons are so... Aw, love y'all. All right, I compared box line to bird solos in the past, and one big similarity is the ups and down shapes in their lines. So big in jazz vocabulary, but not limited to jazz either. Nick, I love this. I love this. That's beautiful. Absolutely. The shape of these lines, no matter the instrument, the shape of the lines really, and that's so hip. You compared box lines to bird solos in the past. I'd love to see what you did on that too, man. Like hear your opinions and insights that you gained by doing that. I think that's really hip. But of course, all the great beboppers, they all studied, you know, they studied classical. I don't want to get in trouble. They studied like classical music. You know what I mean? Specifically Bach, Stravinsky, you know, like it's all documented. But yeah, so that's super hip, Nick. I really love that. All right, so, okay, Kurt, my favorite Oscar Pettiford-ism is the first two bars of the last A section. The entire solo is beautiful, just like all his work, but I wanted to mention that last couple of bars. Great job breaking it down, Bob. Cool, thank you. So my favorite first two bars of the last A section, yeah. It's beautiful, beautiful. I mean, it just, and it's the way he plays that last little bit there, Kurt, too, is just so hip to me. That's just like a little gold, like inside of that already beautiful line. The way he phrases it is just, man. So, like you, Kurt. This is great. I agree with you on the G third bar, beat 2 of the last A. I agree with you on the G third bar. Oh, I'm totally going to be confused. I agree with you on the G third bar, beat 3 of the last A. Oh, for using the open G string? Yeah. Okay. Nick, I have not, Kurt, I think I know what you mean. Using that open G string there, totally OP, right? Yeah. Nick, have you thought of streaming on Twitch? I have not yet, but that's something we should endeavor to check out. So I don't know enough about Twitch, sorry, but I'm sure there's very cool stuff going on that we can figure out. Kurt, man, I love this. Oscar's harmonic and melodic sense are spot on, absolutely. I sat in Milt Hinton's basement with Milt and listened to OP on Milton's Whoa, Kurt, okay, we gotta hang out. Okay, this is too cool. Let me read this again. I sat in Milt Hinton's basement with Milt and listened to Oscar Pettiford on Milton's reel-to-reel tape. I believe the recording was from the 1940s, I believe. Wow, that is too cool, Kurt. Wow, I would have, man, I'd give anything to do something like that. That's so hip. Just to be hanging out with Milt Hinton, the judge. That's super cool. So I'm just gonna be smiling all night thinking about that. Man, Nick, the upright sounds. Ah, right on. Thanks, Nick. I think you're talking about my bass and not Oscar. I don't know. I'm just kidding. Kurt, yeah, that's insane. That's an incredible story, Kurt. So, yeah. Rat Soup, tips for line building. So, yeah, outlining the chord changes, using, like, stealing and understanding how he's building some of these chromatic progressions, not progressions, lines, like where he's trying to get to these gold notes, like specifically hitting roots, thirds, sevenths, fifths, on downbeats, specifically 1, 3, or all 4 downbeats, wherever the phrase takes you, and then being able to like kind of flip that and move that to the side just a little bit. For line building, practice slow. If you're talking about like building your own like eighth note lines, practice slow. Practice real slow. Okay, like like real slow, and try to really hear all of those lines as they're moving. I think that's super important, and definitely to get the whole eighth note line happening, because you get that whole eighth note line happening, then you can start to take beats away, and then you get that syncopation. But hopefully that's what you're getting at, Rat Soup. Okay, okay, here we go. I lived with Milt Hinton for Kurt Morrow. We need Kurt's number. Kurt, we gotta hang out. I lived with Milt Hinton for 2 weeks back in '96 and '97 while attending the Skidmore Jazz Institute. Oh, and then he invited me to his house in Queens. Kurt, this is incredible, man. Wow, that's so cool. I would really love to hear more about like hanging out with Milt Hinton. That's super hip. Okay, Jack Exeter, what key are we in? Man, I don't know. D flat, D flat. Just like a half step, 1 fret higher than the C. We're in a key of D flat. Yeah, D flat. Now some of it's outside of D flat because we were talking about chromaticism, bebop, and extending past diatonic, harmonies. So we're in and outside, but mainly D flat. Yep, Kurt knows it. Penders and Denton, great place. I spent a lot of time there. All right, I got to keep moving, but. Vulcan Airman book's one of my main textbooks right now. Pretty close to what he has. Oh, okay, cool. Nice. Yeah, I got to go and check out what he wrote. But to my ears, aside from the notation like the sharps and flats, that's what he's doing. Now, I played along with it a whole bunch. Too hard to read in this key. Yes, Mario, I agree. Practice more of my sight reading, but still enjoying very much this lesson. Good. Awesome. You're welcome, Mario. Thanks for tuning in. And again, for me, this is so much... These transcriptions, these like transcribing them out and putting them in books, that's awesome, especially for like analyzing what somebody's doing. But please play along with the recording, listen a bunch to the recording, and that's really where it's at, because I surely wouldn't want to sight read this either. So I'm with you on that, Mario. Okay. Oh man. Okay. This dude, Kurt. Yeah, man. I've been in the vocal book since '93. Nice. Working on doing a recording of Oscar Pettiford's music. I want to hear that. Tribute to Oscar. Yeah, Kurt. Beautiful. Okay, I like this one. Rudy. It's 5 in the morning here in Indonesia. I just get up from my sleep. Hey, good morning, Rudy. How are you? Thanks for joining us. How's your coffee? That's awesome. Okay. I think it happens also in the theme lecture a week ago when he uses flat or natural before the same bar. Oh, Edison, are you talking about some of the open strings, the some of the phrasing from the melody? Like there? Maybe? If you're still here, clarify that for me if you could, if you still have that question. Oh, Kurt, Bob, maybe we could check out the Man I Love solo from Oscar Pettiford. That would be great. Capacity and context, absolutely. Did that tune while a student in North Texas. Oh, cool. I've checked that out before. It's super, I mean, it's amazing. Yeah. Chris is saying, how long until your new course is released? Hopefully it's getting released this Friday. It's supposed to be released on the 30th, along with my buddy Adam Manis has got a new course coming out as well. But this is my first course for Open Studio. I'm super excited about it. So just keep your eyes peeled, Chris. Hopefully it's coming out soon, and hopefully it's decent. Yeah, so, all right, okay, we're working our way through. Thanks, Nick. Your answers are always so helpful. Thank you for taking the time to stream and do Q&As. Absolutely, Nick. Thanks for your questions, man. Thanks for hanging out. Okay, moving on. Thanks for the mention of pull-offs and hammer-ons. Oh yeah, check out the other session. And Dave, check out the Facebook group if you want to write anything there or further, contact me at bob@openstudiojazz.com. You can always hit me up there too if you want to talk more about it. Oh, Andrew's on it. Thanks, Andrew. Okay, does this happen every Monday? Yes, Patrick. We're here each and every Monday, 5 p.m. Central, right here on Open Studio's channel. So we do a guided practice session where we just get into different things, talking about the bass. I've just been leaning into my mic, so hopefully that's not been crazy this whole time. Andrew would let me know. But yeah, he's shaking his head. Yeah, it sounds terrible, Bob. Yeah. Yeah, so we're here each and every Monday. So please hang out. Please hang out. Just in time for Halloween. Scary. Yeah, absolutely. Okay, we're getting close. Fantastic lesson. Thanks so much. I learned a lot from both sessions you've done on Pettiford. Thanks, George. Really appreciate it. I love doing this because I end up learning a lot too. You think you know a song like Tricotism or his solo, which I'd learned before in the past, but it's mutually beneficial. So thanks for being here with me. Okay. You saw my P bass in the back, Nick. I've been thinking about that. I do need to do an electric bass lesson or a guided practice session. So yes, there will be one in the future. No doubt. And Andy's on it. All right, Patrick, thanks. Amazing to hear about Milt. Yeah, definitely. Got here late, just tuned in, Piano Man. Today I picked up a book from the library, Bassline. Oh yeah, that's a hip book. So apparently Milt always had his camera with him. So many great pictures in those books. Yeah, great reference there. All right, awesome show. Thanks. Greetings from Argentina. Hey, what's up, Fernando? It's about the writing, not big business. Oh, the writing. Was there perhaps maybe another transcription error? Okay, but yeah, thanks Edison. All right, so thanks so much, everybody. Really appreciate all the comments and the questions and for tuning in. So check out Oscar Pettiford's great Tricotism. Go listen to the song if you've not heard it already. Listen to it again. Play along with it. Man, make some videos. Let me hear it. Let me hear cats playing along with it. I'd love to hear that. So please check the links below for Christian McBride's great course. Keep your eyes open for the Building Blocks of Bass course coming out on openstudiojazz.com very soon. Oh, hold on one second. Sorry, this is local, so we got to say what's up. Kurt Moe, before we go, say hello to Misha Kreutz. Absolutely. At St. Louis Strings. Surely you've been there and know Misha. Be well. Great course, great session. Kurt, I was just there a few weeks ago playing a beautiful, not a Kreutz, but a Pullman bass out there not that long ago. And yeah, I love St. Louis Strings. So please check out the course, the Building Blocks of Bass course that's coming out very soon. And please be well. Come back next Monday. We'll see you next time. Peace.